John Murray, 4th Earl of Dunmore PC, generally known as Lord Dunmore, was a Scottish peer and colonial governor in the American colonies. Murray was named governor of the province of New York in 1770. He succeeded to the same position in the colony of Virginia the following year. After the death of Norborne Berkeley, 4th Baron Bottort, as Virginia's governor, Dunmore directed a series of campaigns against the Trans-Appalachian Indians, known as Lord Dunmore's War. He is noted for issuing a 1775 document proclaiming martial law in Virginia in an attempt to turn back the rebel cause in Virginia. Dunmore fled to New York after the burning of Norfolk in 1776, and later returned to Britain. He was governor of the Bahama Islands, from 1787 to 1796. Dunmore was the last royal governor of Virginia. Family and early life. Murray was born in Teignmouth, Scotland. He was the eldest son of William Murray, 3rd Earl of Dunmore, and his wife, Catherine. He was a nephew of John Murray, 2nd Earl of Dunmore. In 1745, William Murray and son, John, joined the ill-fated campaign of Bonnie Prince Charlie. Young Murray was appointed a page to Prince Charles. The second Earl, his uncle, remained with the Hanoverian regime. After the Jacobite army was defeated at the Battle of Culloden, the Murray family was put under house arrest, and the patriarch, William, was imprisoned in the Tower. By 1750, William had received a conditional pardon. John was now 20, and joined the British Army. In 1756, after the deaths of his uncle and father, Murray became the 4th Earl of Dunmore. Dunmore married Lady Charlotte, daughter of Alexander Stewart, 6th Earl of Galloway, in 1759. Their daughter, Lady Augusta Murray, was a daughter-in-law of King George III. The Dunmores had another daughter close to her age, Lady Catherine Murray, and soon after they landed in Virginia, they had another child, Lady Virginia Murray. Their daughter Lady Susan Murray had 3 husbands and children by each. First, Joseph Tharp, heir to a Jamaica sugar fortune. Second, John Drew, son of the Chichester banker John Drew. And finally a clergyman in Ireland, the Reverend Archibald Edward Douglas. Colonial Governor of New York. Dunmore was named the British Governor of the province of New York from 1770 to 1771. Soon after his appointment, in 1770, Virginia's governor, Norborne Berkeley, 4th Baron Bottort, died, and Dunmore was eventually named to replace him. Colonial Governor of Virginia. Dunmore's War. Dunmore became Royal Governor of the colony of Virginia on 25 September 1771. Despite growing issues with Great Britain, his predecessor, Lord Bottort, had been a popular governor in Virginia, even though he served only 2 years before his death. As Virginia's colonial governor, Dunmore directed a series of campaigns against the Indians known as Lord Dunmore's War. The Shawnee were the main target of these attacks, and his avowed purpose was to strengthen Virginia's claims in the West, particularly in the Ohio Country. However, some accused Dunmore of colluding with the Shawnees in arranging the war to deplete the Virginia militia and help safeguard the Loyalist cause, should there be a colonial rebellion. John Murray, 4th Earl of Dunmore, in his History of the Indian Wars, denied these accusations. Battle for control lacking in diplomatic skills. Dunmore tried to govern without consulting the House of Burgesses of the Colonial Assembly for more than a year, which exacerbated an already tense situation. When Dunmore finally convened the Colonial Assembly in March 1773, which was the only way he could deal with fiscal issues to support his war, the Burgesses instead first resolved to form a committee of correspondence to communicate their continued concerns about the Townshend Acts and Gaspee affair to Great Britain. Dunmore immediately postponed the assembly. Many Burgesses gathered a short distance away at the Raleigh Tavern and continued discussing their problems with the new taxes, perceived corruption and lack of representation in England. When Dunmore reconvened the Assembly in 1774, the Burgesses passed a resolution declaring the 1st of June 1774 a day of fasting and prayer in Virginia. In response, Dunmore dissolved the House. The Burgesses again reconvened as the Second Virginia Convention and elected delegates to the Continental Congress. Dunmore issued a proclamation against electing delegates to the Congress, but failed to take serious action. In March 1775, Patrick Henry's "Give Me Liberty, or Give Me Death" speech delivered at St. John's Episcopal Church in Richmond helped convince delegates to approve a resolution calling for armed resistance. In the face of rising unrest in the colony, Dunmore sought to deprive Virginia's militia of military supplies. Dunmore gave the key to the Williamsburg magazine to Lieutenant Henry Collins, commander of HMS Magdalen, and ordered him to remove the powder, provoking what became known as the Gunpowder Incident. On the night of the 20th of April 1775, Royal Marines loaded 15 half-barrels of powder into the governor's wagon, intent on transporting it down the Quarter Path Road to the James River and the British warship. Local militia rallied, and word of the incident spread across the colony. Confrontation with the Hanover militia. The Hanover militia, led by Patrick Henry, arrived outside of Williamsburg on the 3rd of May. That same day, Dunmore evacuated his family from the governor's palace to his hunting lodge, Portobello in nearby York County. On the 6th of May, Dunmore issued a proclamation against a certain Patrick Henry and a number of deluded followers, who had organized an independent company and put themselves in a posture of war. Dunmore threatened to impose martial law, and eventually retreated to Portobello to join his family. Dislodged by the Virginia rebels and wounded in the leg, on the 8th of June, Dunmore took refuge on the British warship HMS Fowey in the York River. Over the next months, Dunmore sent many raiding parties to plunder plantations along the James, York and Potomac rivers, particularly those owned by rebels. The raiders exacerbated tensions, since they not only stole supplies, they also encouraged slaves to rebel. In December, Washington commented, "I do not think that force in his lordship on shipboard is sufficient. Nothing less than depriving him of life or liberty will secure peace to Virginia." As motives of resentment actuate his conduct to a degree equal to the total destruction of that colony, Dunmore's proclamation. Dunmore is noted for Lord Dunmore's Proclamation, also known as Lord Dunmore's Offer of Emancipation, dated the 7th of November 1775, but proclaimed a week later. Dunmore thereby formally offered freedom to slaves who abandoned their patriot masters to join the British. Dunmore had previously withheld his signature from a bill against the slave trade. The proclamation appeared to respond to the legislature's proclamation that Dunmore had resigned his position by boarding a warship off Yorktown, nearly 6 months earlier. However, by the end of the war, an estimated 800 to 2,000 escaped slaves sought refuge with the British. Some served in the army, though the majority served in non-combatant roles. Dunmore organized these black loyalists into his Ethiopian regiment. However, despite winning the Battle of Kemp's Landing on the 17th of November 1775, Dunmore lost decisively at the Battle of Great Bridge on the 9th of December 1775. Following that defeat, Dunmore loaded his troops, and many Virginia loyalists, onto British ships. Smallpox spread in the confined quarters, and some 500 of the 800 members of the Ethiopian regiment died. Final skirmishes and returned to Britain on New Year's Day in 1776. Dunmore gave orders to burn waterfront buildings in Norfolk from which Patriot troops were firing on his ships. However, the fire spread. The city burned, and with it any hope that Dunmore's loyalists could return to Virginia, Dunmore retreated to New York. Some ships of his refugee fleet were sent south, mostly to Florida. When he realized he could not regain control in Virginia, Dunmore returned to Britain in July 1776. Dunmore continued to draw his pay as the colony's governor until 1783, when Britain recognized American independence. From 1787 to 1796, Dunmore served as governor of the Bahamas. Peerage. Dunmore sat as a Scottish representative peer in the House of Lords from 1761 to 1774 and from 1776 to 1790. Death. Dunmore died on February 25, 1809, and was succeeded in the earldom by his eldest son, George. The Countess of Dunmore died in 1819. Legacy. Dunmore County, Virginia, formed in 1772, was named in his honor. However, as the American Revolution got underway, the citizens changed its name to Shenandoah County in 1778. Lake Dunmore in Salisbury, Vermont, was named after him in 1773, since he had claimed ownership of the area while he was governor of New York. Portobello, the hunting lodge of Lord Dunmore, still stands on the grounds of Camp Perry in York County, Virginia. It is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Access to the base is highly restricted, so the structure is not available for public viewing. The Dunmore Pineapple was built in 1761 before he left Scotland. The building is now owned by the National Trust for Scotland and is leased to the Landmark Trust, who use it to provide holiday accommodation. The gardens are open to the public year-round. Dunmore Street in Norfolk, Virginia was named for him. It is said that the naming of Dunmore Street was not to honor the ex-governor, but to celebrate the place in Norfolk where he had last set foot. The borough of Dunmore in Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania, is named after Dunmore Park in Scotland, location of the Dunmore Pineapple. Lord Dunmore Drive in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Dunmore Town, Harbor Island, North Eleuthera, Bahamas.